Imagine a country where airplanes land below the level of the sea, where farms, highways, and entire cities sit on ground the ocean should already own, where millions of people live, work, and sleep on land that only exists because the water is constantly held back. This isn't a fantasy. It's one of the most developed nations on Earth, and by every law of nature, large parts of it should be at the bottom of the North Sea. So why isn't it? Look at the Netherlands on a map and it seems ordinary, but look at its elevation and it becomes almost impossible. About a quarter of the country lies below sea level. Add the land that floods from rivers and well over half of the nation sits in a danger zone. And the lowest point drops nearly 7 meters under the sea, deep enough to swallow a 2-story house whole. In most of the world, below sea level means underwater. Here, it means your living room, your school, your local football pitch. So here's the real question. The sea is right there, higher than the land, pushing in every single day. Gravity is on its side. Storms are on its side. Time is on its side. By every logic, this country should flood, drain, and disappear. And yet it doesn't. Not once a century, not once a year. The Dutch have kept the ocean out for generations, and they did it without a single natural barrier. In the next few minutes, you'll see exactly how. And the real secret isn't a wall. It's something stranger, right? Something the rest of the world is only now starting to copy. The first line of defense is the one nature gave them: dunes. Along the coast, giant ridges of sand stand between the sea and the land. And for centuries, that was almost all the protection there was. But sand is not enough. So the Dutch built. They raised walls of earth, clay, and stone called dikes, and they built them everywhere. Some estimates put the Dutch network of dikes at well over 17,000 kilometers, roughly the distance from Amsterdam to Sydney, a wall of human-made ground holding back an entire sea. Then, in 1953, the sea reminded them what was at stake. A winter storm drove the North Sea straight over the defenses. In a single night, the water swallowed villages while people slept. More than 1,800 people died. It was the deadliest disaster the modern Netherlands had ever seen, said at Naam, and the country swore it would never happen again. The answer became one of the largest engineering projects in human history. But the dikes, the dunes, the storm barriers, all of it is only the first layer. Because keeping the sea out was never the hardest part. The hardest part was making new land where there was only water. Here's where the Netherlands stops defending and starts attacking. For centuries, the Dutch didn't just hold the sea back, they reached into it and pulled out land. The trick is called a polder. First, you build a ring of dikes around a patch of sea or marsh. Then you pump every drop of water out from inside that ring, and you keep pumping forever. What's left is land. Fertile, flat, brand new land sitting lower than the water around it. For hundreds of years, that pumping was done by the icon everyone knows, the windmill. Thousands of them turning wind into the power to lift water up and out day and night. And they didn't stop at small fields. They drained lakes, they drained bays, they took an entire arm of the sea, the Zuiderzee, sealed it off with a single unbroken dam 32 kilometers long. Roughly 300 football fields laid end to end and turned saltwater into a freshwater lake. Then they pumped a whole new province out of the bottom of it, a piece of the country that simply did not exist a century ago, now home to towns, farms, and roads. Think about that. There is land in the Netherlands where ships once sailed, where there were waves, there are now traffic lights. No country on Earth has rewritten its own map like this. But new land below the sea comes with a price, because the moment you stop pumping, the water starts coming back. And this is the part most people never realize, that the Netherlands isn't a country with some flood defenses. The entire country is one enormous machine for moving water. Not one wall, not one dam, but thousands of small decisions happening every hour. A pump starts, a canal level drops, a gate opens, a storm barrier waits at the mouth of a river, ready to move when the sea gets too high. From above, it looks like a normal country, but underneath, it behaves more like a control room, measuring, adjusting, draining, correcting. It is quite literally a country run like a ship that must never be allowed to sink. But even that isn't the real secret, because you might think all of this is about building one thing big enough to stop the ocean. It isn't. You've probably heard the simple version of this story. The Dutch built a big wall, and the wall keeps the sea out. It's the explanation in most textbooks, and it's wrong. A single wall, no matter how huge, would fail. The sea doesn't only attack from the front, it seeps underneath. It rises from below as groundwater. It falls from the sky as rain that has nowhere to drain. Build one perfect wall, and the land behind it would still slowly fill up like a bathtub with no plug hole. The Dutch learned this the hard way over 1,000 years of failures, floods, and rebuilding. The lesson was brutal but simple. You cannot beat water with a wall. You can only manage it. And that single shift in thinking is the real reason this country still exists. So here's the real secret. The thing that keeps the Netherlands alive isn't a wall or a dam or a single great machine. It's the fact that the whole country never stops working. Every hour of every day, the Dutch are measuring the water, where it's rising, where it's seeping, where it's collecting. And then they move it pump by pump, gate by gate, staying a few centimeters ahead of disaster. Stop for a season and the polders would flood. Stop for a year and the map would start to dissolve. This country isn't protected, it's maintained, like a heartbeat that can never be allowed to stop. And there's a cruel twist hidden inside it. The more they pump the land dry, the more that soft, peaty ground sinks, which means parts of the country are slowly dropping even lower, forcing the pumps to work even harder, forever. The sea isn't their only enemy. The very ground beneath them is sinking too. The Dutch didn't solve the problem once. They signed up to solve it every single day with no finish line in sight. And astonishingly, it works. So go back to that image from the start. Planes touching down below the level of the sea, cities asleep on ground the ocean should own, millions of people living dry only because the water is held back. Every hour of every day. It looks impossible, and in a way, it is. The Netherlands was never supposed to be here. It exists only because 1,000 years ago, people decided the coastline was never final, that where the sea ended could be moved, argued, redrawn. They didn't defeat the ocean. No one ever has. Instead, every single day, they sit down at the same table with the water and agree on new terms, a truce that has to be renewed before the sun comes up tomorrow. The rest of the world used to call it madness. Now, as seas rise everywhere, they're calling it the future. Because the Dutch already know the secret the rest of us are about to learn. You don't beat nature. You make a deal with it, and you never, ever stop paying.